The Coach Curl podcast is brought to you by Think and Grow Business, the home of the Think and Grow Business Mastermind. If you're serious about growing your business, get serious and join a mastermind group today. Find out more at thinkandgrowbusiness.com.au.
Hey there, it's Tony Curl here from the Coach Curl podcast. Welcome to episode 113, where today we're going to dissect what it takes to be a good team leader.
Way to go, guys. Way to go. Keep it going. Good job, guys. All right, Paul. I see you. Finish on. Coach Curl.
Great job, guys.
Hey there, it's Tony here. It's Coach Curl, and welcome to episode 113 of the Coach Curl podcast, where today we're going to dissect the qualities of what makes a good team leader. Now, we've had, as always, some really good feedback coming through to the podcast channel, and if you want to leave feedback, it's so easy to do. Just go to coachcurl.com and click on the contact link, and you'll be able to send us direct feedback, send us some thoughts, or even ask us a question. Every now and again we get people asking us questions of what's for some advice on what they can do in certain situations, and that's always awesome to get, and it's always awesome that we can share those that little bit of advice with those that listen. Once again, thank you so much for tuning in. And today I'm talking about the concept of team leader. Now, often we see in the business world people get promoted from a level of, say, a technical skill set. They might be a really good salesperson, they might be a really good administrator, and they get appointed into a team leader role. And often this is first up the first formal organizational position for management, but often it's a step in the rung. Now, when I say a step in the rung, it can lead you to a fantastic career, or it can collapse underneath you. And it's about understanding the differences, because a lot of people don't get trained on how they lead people. They're good at what they do. They get the promotion based on that. And then they're forced or pushed into this position where suddenly they have to manage people. Now imagine you've been promoted from a group of peers and working all together to achieve a goal, and then all of a sudden you're in a position where you need to assign tasks, you need to assign responsibility. So it can be a real challenge for leaders to take on board. Now, your success depends largely on how you as the leader are perceived in the team's eyes. Now, plenty of people would rather intentionally self-destruct than give an obviously horrible leader everything that they have. And I can attest to that. During my career, I worked with some fantastic leaders, and I worked with some pretty ordinary leaders. And the ordinary leaders that I worked with, it was very hard to be motivated to do my best when I knew that ultimately I wasn't going to be recognized or benefit from it personally, but also my balance and wanting to do the right thing by the company or the business was outweighed by the way that I personally was being treated by a bad leader. Some people will purposely go out of the way to sabotage that horrible leader. So one of the key things that I want you to think about as you step into that team leadership role is that the ability for you to have confidence, have a great attitude, to create that first impression within your team, to try and get that team support. But when you look at some of the qualities of what great leaders or great team leaders have, we can really look at some of those areas and we can define them. So the first one is a great leader will always be able to cast and establish a clear vision for the future, and one that they can align the team to, and one that they can challenge the team. In many cases, as we know, missions and visions are set by the larger organisation, the strategic executive leadership team. But it's how we align to that at the front line that's critical to create that vision for our team. So most good team leaders will have some ability to decide how to accomplish the vision that they have for their team in the best way for the company. So at a bare minimum, a leader can establish a vision that challenges the team to be the best within their organisation or within the industry. That little bit of friendly competition never goes astray as long as it's friendly competition, as long as it's for positive good for the business. So setting that clear vision is one of the top ways for a team leader to get everyone working towards a common goal. Now, additionally, a good team leader will be good at delegating and not just passing off tasks that they don't want to do. So delegation is a skill and an art form in many ways. And delegation is about providing appropriate people with the appropriate tasks and the appropriate challenges. You can use it as a developmental piece so that you can help people take the next steps in their career by giving them some more challenging roles. But I just reiterate, this isn't about you passing off roles or jobs that you're uncomfortable with or that you don't like. It's about getting the right person to do the right role and to provide that delegation opportunity, that development opportunity for people to get better at what it is that they do. Now, trait number 3, most successful team leaders are engaging. They're able to embrace the members outside of just being workers. So it's about creating that team engagement. Now, there's an old saying out there, and it really does ring true. People don't care how much you know until they know how much you care. Now, I've heard John Maxwell talk about that before. It may be a Maxwell quote, I'm not quite sure. But people don't care how much you know until they know how much you care. So leaders must get to know everyone on their team and re-engage with them as people. And when I say re-engage, this is coming from you're stepping from a peer into a leadership role. So it is a different level of engagement. They need to make sure that everyone on the team is assigned to the right position that they should be doing and that they know what they need to know to accomplish the job. They can only do this by getting to know every member of the team, understanding things like strengths and weaknesses, as well as the needs and outcomes that the team requires. Communication is the next trait. Successful team leaders are excellent communicators. We know that. They know how to express themselves clearly. They know how to make the audience understand what it is that they're trying to communicate. Now, I work with so many people who talk to me about communication. The reality with communication is that the success of communication comes from how well the message was received by the person getting the message. Doesn't matter how well you think you got the message across. The success of communication depends on how well the message was received. So in terms of communication, that ability to be able to not just send the message, but clarify the message and listen in to create that all-round strong communication skills. Because without communication, your career will obviously not go far. It will falter, it will stumble, it will fail. Now, good leaders are also problem solvers. The best leaders are also effective problem solvers. They know how to analyze issues, listen to possible alternative solutions, and implement fixes. They must be able to implement effective solutions so that their team can function without barriers to performance. Now, that one lines up with our last trait, which is about coaching and mentoring. But before I jump into that, I'm going to just talk about they're also decision makers. Now, effective leaders are also able to make timely decisions. They are able to identify and assess issues, look at all the relevant options, and make a decision based on available information. Leaders are not procrastinators. Leaders are not sitting back waiting till they've got everything absolutely perfect to make a decision. They need to be made in a timely manner so that the team can roll forward. Now, Coaching and mentoring is what all successful leaders do. Now I talk about that in relation to problem solving, because problem solving is something that a leader must be able to do, but they can't solve all the problems that their teams come to them for. So sometimes a team member will come to you with a problem that they can actually fix themselves, but they're coming to you because that's the easiest and simplest option. Now, if you were to solve that problem for the team member, you have cast a golden handcuff to you, because that team member is always going to come to you for a problem. So that ability to be able to be a good coach and get them to seek the answer themselves, and to get the answer themselves, is going to not just make a stronger team, but make you more effective and efficient as a leader. So all successful team leaders are also good coaches. They mentor their team members on performance. They've got structure around that performance. It's not just an ad hoc thing. It's not just talking to someone when their performance falters. It's about setting them an example, and setting up a consistent way in which performance of that particular team member is spoken about in a positive sense, where they go through a coaching process. And it's not a telling process, it is a coaching process. It's about asking questions and listening. And one of the biggest things that I find is that every time you ask a question, you learn something new. So every time you ask a question, you learn something new. Now, the other traits that we know exist, which I'm not necessarily going to walk through in any depth, things like integrity, that's obviously important for a leader to show. They must be able to influence. If you can't influence, you certainly can't lead. And they must have the ability to be flexible and change. They must have that approach to growth and change where they're always looking for that better solution. So that's another important aspect of being a leader. So I'll just run through those again, just so that you don't miss any of them. So they must be able to cast and create a clear vision for the future. They must be good at delegating and using that delegation as a developmental piece for their team. They must be able to foster team engagement. They must be able to engage and build rapport with the team. Their communication skills must be high so that the message is being received well by the person receiving the message. They must be effective in problem solving. They must be timely in decision making. They must be able to coach and mentor their team. They have to have integrity. They must be able to influence, and they've got to have an approach to growth and change that creates an environment of continual improvement. So, if you're in a position where you're becoming a leader, or that you're seen as a leader within your organization, do a checklist based around some of those traits and just see where you are. And if there is any way that you can develop those, whether you've got someone within the organization, whether you can go out and read a book, or whether you can actually, these traits are part of a program that we've got inside the Coach Curl Academy. It's called Harmony, team building. So, and you can pick up your first 30 days at the Coach Curl Academy for the Golden Business and Leadership memberships for just $1. So go in, check it out, and see what else is available there to help you grow. Because it's important that outstanding leaders retain strong qualities when working in conjunction with the people that they lead. Leadership isn't about instruction and guiding juniors, but typically requires working with people at all levels. And that includes your boss. So your boss is part of your team. So think about that. How do you become an effective team leader? By becoming more of a leader of your boss. And maybe we might talk about that in our next podcast. I hope you've taken some value out of this week's episode of the Coach Curl podcast. Don't forget Think and Grow Business, our major sponsor. If it wasn't for them, this podcast just simply wouldn't exist. Check it out, thinkandgrowbusiness.com.au for personal, professional and business growth. Don't forget, I've written a book. It's called Seriously Simple Stuff to Get You Unstuck. It's available at my author's page at tonycurl.com.au, but it's also available at where all good books are sold online, Amazon most particularly. Don't forget, 20% out of every book sold goes to support the wonderful work that Carter's Cause do, raising funds and awareness for parents and the kids born with congenital heart disease. Don't forget, we've got someone new on board. We've got Totally Builderall. It's available at totallybuilderall.com.au. Check it out. It's a fully integrated digital marketing system. Now, we use that system ourselves. Everything we promote or we encourage people to buy, we use ourselves. So check it out at totallybuilderall.com, and we use it for landing pages and for some of the other marketing tools. It's just jam-packed with digital marketing tools. We haven't even scratched the surface on how we can use that system. All we know is that the system is absolutely fantastic. Hey, look, until next week, you know you're still standing, you're stronger, you're braver, and you're wiser. And don't ever forget the golden rule. Yes, you know what it is. Just don't be an arsehole. I'll see you next time.